In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, ever merciful. In our last session, we discussed how to form the present continuous tense and the spelling of the present participle. In this session, we shall discuss uses of the present continuous tense. The present continuous tense is used A. For an action happening now. It is raining. I'm not wearing a coat as it is not cold. I'm writing a letter. Why are you sitting at my desk? What is she doing? She is feeding the baby. Now, all these actions have something to do with the present time now, that is the moment of speaking. And the second thing is for an action about this time, but not necessarily at the moment of speaking. For an action about this time, but not necessarily at the moment of speaking. For an action about this time, but not necessarily at the moment of speaking. I'm reading a play by Shakespeare. This may mean at the moment of speaking, but may also mean now in a more general sense. He is teaching French and learning Greek. He may not be doing either at the moment of speaking. Maybe he teaches French in the morning and learns Greek in the afternoon, in the evening. But in the middle of the day, he doesn't do anything. When two continuous tenses having the same subject are joined by and, the auxiliary may be dropped before the second verb, as in the above example. This applies to all pairs of compound tenses. Nasima was knitting and listening to the radio. Nasima was knitting and listening to the radio. We have dropped was before listening to the radio. For a definite arrangement in the near future, the most usual way of expressing one's immediate plans. I am meeting Aslam tonight. He is taking me to the theater. Are you doing anything tomorrow evening? Yes, I am playing chess with Akram. It is important to note that the time of action must be mentioned, as otherwise there might be a confusion between present and future meanings. Come and go, however, can be used in this way without a time expression. Other possible uses of the present continuous, with a point in time to indicate an action which begins before this point and probably continues after it. At 6, I am bathing the baby. I start bathing him before 6. Similarly, with the verb in the simple present, they are flying over the desert when one of the engines fails. The present continuous is rarely used in this way except in descriptions of daily routine and in dramatic narrative. But the past continuous is often combined with a point in time or a verb in the simple past. With always, he is always losing his keys. This form is used chiefly in the affirmative. 1. For a frequently repeated action, usually when the frequency enjoys the speaker or seems unreasonable to him, Tom is always going away for weekends. Present continuous would simply imply that he goes away very often, probably too often in the speaker's opinion. But it does not necessarily mean that he goes away every weekend. It is not a literal statement. Compare with always plus simple present. Tom always goes away at weekends. That is, Tom goes away every weekend. A literal statement. I or we plus always plus continuous tense is also possible here. The repeated action is then often accidental. I am always making that mistake. I am always making that mistake. For an action which appears to be continuous, he is always working. That is, he works the whole time. He is always working. That means he works the whole time. This sort of action quite often annoys the speaker but doesn't necessarily do so. He is always reading could imply that he spends too much time reading, but could also be said in a tone of approval. The first person could be used here too. The action then, like the other action here in two, is usually deliberate. Please wait for the next session.